Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Tim here. High Noons Vinyl. Sorry, I'm kind of getting set up in the frame. How's everybody doing? Hopefully, everybody had a good Fourth. So, real quick, wanted to kind of get this in. A, I promised, and B, I thought it'll be a lot of fun. Beth, B-Side Records. We all know Beth. We love Beth. Beth, how you doing? She had put out a soundtrack tag, and I just finished watching a movie which may have reference in the soundtrack tag. But let's go ahead and get started. I have the questions here somewhere, I think. I better, or I'm an idiot. Oh, no, there they are. Because, you know, I'm an idiot. So, got the questions written down. And see what we come up with. Some of these I only had on CD. My CDs are in a big mess right now, so pardon me if I don't show everything. It is what it is. Question number one: what was the first soundtrack you ever bought? I don't have it anymore because I got rid of all my tapes a million years ago, like an idiot. But I had the Beat Street 1 and 2 soundtracks. Those were, from my recollection, the first soundtracks I bought. I don't recall anything prior to that. I mean, I racked my brains, but yeah, no, even then I tried to get them on record and I can only find them on tape. And I was like, well, I want them. So I bought them on cassette. So those long gone, sadly. Wish I still had them. What is your newest soundtrack in your collection? Well, this goes a reference to what I said earlier about watching a movie. It's out of stock. I ordered it and I got to wait for it to come back in. But I'm waiting on the Hamilton Broadway cast, because I just watched that movie and that was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed the movie, so highly recommend it. Soundtrack was fantastic. Looking forward to getting that one in. So that would be the question to that one. Number 3, soundtrack you've listened to the most. Well, recently it would be The Warriors, which I'm playing in the background. You can't hear it, it's late and I'm spinning it quietly. But lifetime, all spins, Rocky Horror Picture Show. Call me a perv, I don't care. Love that movie, love that soundtrack. Favorite music composer? Oh, pardon me. John Williams. But wait, there's more. Favorite instrumental score? Again, Star Wars. That was a no-brainer for me. It's part of my life. It's part of my psyche. I know not everyone shares the same passion as I do for Star Wars, and that's okay. We can all agree to be different. But for me, John Williams, like, I take into account like Star Wars or Jaws. His music becomes a character, and I think that's what draws my ear to his compositions. And then I just couldn't imagine Star Wars without the music. It's such an interwoven part of the experience of the movie. I just can't deal without it. So awesome movie, horrible soundtrack. Well, it's not often that you would say that you would buy a horrible soundtrack, but I did. And I wouldn't say it's a horrible soundtrack, but it just, comparatively speaking to the movie, it's The Mystery Men. There's a couple of good cuts on here, outside of All Star. But mainly I bought it for the Mystery Men mantra and the Mystery Men Oath. Now you get a couple of disco cuts like the Disco Inferno and Night Fear because of the Disco Boys. But I thoroughly love this movie. I'm one of the 7 people who went and saw it in the theaters. I think the other 6 were the people that I went with. We were excited for this. We were up in arms. We could not wait to get into the theater to see this. And we had a blast. The day it came out on DVD, I bought it, and I think we watched it like every day for like a month. I love this movie. Soundtrack, not so much. Meh. soundtrack that was better than the movie. Now, again, I think this is in the car because my wife takes it all the time. She likes the movie. I didn't. But we both agreed the soundtrack is better. Unfortunately, the soundtrack isn't the way it was recorded in the movie. And I'm talking about Queen of the Damned, which was a sequel of sorts to Interview with the Vampire. It had to deal with, the ongoing story written by Anne Rice. But in the movie, Jonathan Davis of Korn did all the vocals. But because of his contract that he had with his record label, he couldn't be on the soundtrack. So the soundtrack had to be kind of basically parted out to other musicians. It's still a great soundtrack and I thoroughly enjoy it, but the movie, it didn't do much for me at all. My wife likes the movie, so I'm wrong. Song by a band or artist that you love that's featured in a soundtrack. Now, I could have swore I had the single soundtrack on CD. I know we have it on CD. It's somewhere over there. And I thought we had the Wayne's World soundtrack. And that's somewhere over there too, I'm pretty sure. But again, like I said, my CDs are in disarray. But if you know those two soundtracks and you know me, you probably know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Jimi Hendrix. Hendrix was featured in Wayne's World, Foxy Lady, whenever Garth saw, her name fell out of my head, he did the Foxy stuff. But he was also featured, May This Be Love was featured on the single soundtrack. And tons more. It's Hendrix. You pay the licensing, you get the song, boom. It's an easy thing to do. So, well, not easy, it's probably pretty costly, but a soundtrack everyone should own. Well, Beth said Forrest Gump, and that was my number one go-to. Like, as soon as I heard the question, I was like, well, it should be Forrest Gump. And then she said it, and I was like, well, dang. This is probably a close second. Big Chill. I get the allure of the movie. I've seen it a few times. I don't think the movie holds up as well. It is what it is. It was an 80s movie about reliving your youth in a night and stuff like that, and dealing with all the drama of relationships gone past. But the soundtrack, you got Marvin Gaye, Temptations, Rascals, Smokey Robinson, Aretha Franklin, Procol Harum. It's just a killer soundtrack. And here, I'll let you guys see it. It's just, I don't know. It's just one of those ones that's like, everybody had it. Everybody seemed to have it on CD or vinyl or whatever. And they made a second one and people had all that. It was just a big part of our musical diet of the 80s because it was a callback to these great songs. They were so great for a reason. So, and then number 10, some soundtrack grails. Even though I don't show a lot of soundtracks, I do collect them to some extent. The score of a particular movie like Star Wars, or I have Clockwork Orange, they stick with you with the movie. Some of the original music, Beth poignantly called it out, saying that you can only get it sometimes on that soundtrack. And I agree. But there are some soundtracks that I do want to get on vinyl. Like I was able to get The Crow last year on Record Store Day, and that was a big want. We have like 2 copies on CD. It's like one of those ones that's like, if it's slightly starting to get messed up because we listen to it so much, we replace it because we love that soundtrack. But like some of the ones that I would like to get on vinyl, shocker. Talk about a bad movie, great soundtrack. I like to get the Beat Streets and Breakin', just because it's part of my upbringing through hip hop, through cinema. Crush Groove would be another one. The single soundtrack I absolutely love. The Thing score. That's one of my favorite. It probably is my favorite thriller horror movies of all time. John Carpenter did an amazing job with that. So that would be a big one for me. A couple other ones that come to mind. I've got them written down here. I'm just kind of picking and choosing. Repo Man's another great one. A lot of that just high energy punk from the era. Boys in the Hood I need to pick up at some point. So there's quite a few that I do want to add to the collection for what they meant to the movie. Blues Brothers soundtrack's another one. Every time I see it, it's either beat the hell or they want way too much money than what it's really worth. So, but there you go. So this was actually a lot of fun because, you know, being that I listen to so much different music, I sometimes discredit how much soundtracks mean to me as a music fan and as a movie fan. There are some soundtracks that are iconic, like I said, you know, Star Wars or Indiana Jones or Jaws, that have such a powerful, you know, just a powerful score that is part of the movie. But we also have these soundtracks that have licensed songs or original songs that are just as important. So this was a great exercise in just realizing just how important music is to cinema. So Beth, thank you so much. It was a fun idea. Had a lot of fun doing it. Hopefully you are well. Hopefully everybody's well. Hopefully everybody had a safe 4th. And we'll talk to everybody soon. I got some more videos coming up real soon. You guys are going to get sick of me. I'm sorry. You still got to look at this guy. Anyway, love you all. Take care. Happy 4th. Peace.